Hey everyone, and welcome. So if you've ever brought home one of those gorgeous orchids from the store only to watch it, well, sadly give up on you, then you are definitely in the right place. Today, we're going to totally demystify the #1 reason people struggle with these plants, and it all comes down to what you plant them in. Let's dive in.
Okay, on a show of hands, who's done this? You get an orchid, you think it's a plant, so you grab a bag of regular old potting soil. You know, it's such a classic mistake, and hey, trust me, you are so not alone. The real solution is actually way simpler than you'd think, and it's all about how these plants are wired.
And the whole secret boils down to this one word, epiphyte. See, most of the orchids you buy in stores are epiphytes, and that just means out in nature, they don't grow in the dirt at all. Nope, they grow in the sides of trees with their roots completely out in the open, just clinging to bark. They're basically air plants. And that right there, that's the single most important thing you need to know to keep them alive.
And that's exactly why potting soil is a total death sentence. It's just too dense, it gets compacted, and it holds on to way too much water. Those special roots that love air, they're literally being smothered. They can't get any oxygen, which creates these nasty conditions that just cause them to decay. And that, my friends, is root rot, the #1 killer of orchids.
So yeah, let's unlock this whole secret. Because once you understand why they hate soil, you're on the fast track to creating a home for them that they will absolutely thrive in. I love this quote because it gives us the perfect mental image for what we're trying to do. You want to think of your orchid mix like a structured sponge, right? Imagine a sponge you can totally drench with water, but the second you stop, all the extra just pours right out, leaving it perfectly damp but not soggy, and most importantly, full of air pockets. That's exactly what we're trying to build.
And to build that perfect structured sponge, we just need to follow 4, let's call them non-negotiable rules. These are the absolute pillars for any good orchid mix, no matter what it's made of. All right, first up, aeration. The roots gotta breathe, period. Second, drainage. Water has to rush right through and out the bottom. No puddles allowed. Third, moisture balance. It's got to hold on to just enough moisture to keep the plant happy between waterings. And finally, stability. The mix needs to be a solid anchor, something the roots can really grab onto and feel secure in, just like they would on a tree.
Okay, so with those rules in mind, let's meet the actual building blocks. Think of this next part as your toolkit for creating that perfect airy home for your orchid.
So, all your components really fall into 2 main camps. On one side, you've got your organic stuff like bark or coconut husks. These are great because they really mimic nature, but they do break down, so you'll have to repot every year or two. And on the other side, you have inorganic media like perlite or clay pebbles. These last pretty much forever and give you amazing aeration, but they're totally inert. They offer 0 nutrition.
Now let's zone in on the 2 most popular organic choices. Fir bark is a classic, but here's the make-or-break tip. You have to soak it before you use it, preferably overnight. If you don't, that dry bark will literally pull moisture out of your orchid's roots. Then there's coconut coir. It lasts way longer, which is awesome, but it comes with a huge warning label. It's often packed with salts from processing that will burn the roots. You have to rinse it, and I mean really, really rinse it, multiple times to get all that bad stuff out.
So this chart kind of lays out the whole toolkit for you, showing what each component does best. For example, check out horticultural charcoal. And nope, this is not the stuff for your barbecue. Its whole job is to absorb extra salts from fertilizer and keep the mix from getting funky. And then you have sphagnum moss, which is like a moisture magnet. It's great, but you have to be super careful not to pack it in too tight, or you'll just cancel out all that good aeration we're aiming for.
So, with all these options, how in the world do you choose what to use? Well, here's the golden rule. It's so simple, you'll never forget it. The size of the chunks in your mix should match the size of your orchid's roots. That's it. Big fat roots, they need a big chunky mix. Delicate, skinny roots, they need a finer mix to hold that moisture close.
All right, so let's get practical. We're going to move from all this theory to some actual custom recipes that you can use for whatever kind of orchid you've got sitting on your windowsill right now.
First things first, take a look at your orchid's roots. Are they super thick and sturdy, almost like little green pencils? Then you're probably looking at something like a cattleya. These guys are all about maximum air and a mix that dries out lightning fast.
Or maybe the roots are kind of medium. Not super thick, not super thin.
Well, then you've got yourself the classic grocery store Phalaenopsis, also known as the moth orchid. This is the one most of us have, and it loves a perfect balance between good airflow and a little bit of moisture retention.
And finally, are the roots really thin and delicate, almost like thread? Those belong to orchids like oncidiums or papillopetalums, the lady slipper orchids. Because those roots are so fine, they can dry out in a heartbeat. So they need a mix made of smaller particles that can keep them nice and evenly moist.
This table is a fantastic cheat sheet. Just find your orchid type and it gives you a great starting recipe. For that common Phalaenopsis, a mix that's mostly medium bark with a little bit of sphagnum for moisture and some perlite for air is just perfect. But for a Cattleya, oh, you're going with coarse bark and lots of charcoal and perlite for all the airflow you can get.
But, of course, the mix isn't the entire story. Your success also hinges on two other huge factors: the pot you pick and the environment inside your home. These are really the final pieces of the whole puzzle.
The pot you choose, it's a total game changer for moisture. A classic clay or terracotta pot is porous, right? It actually breathes and pulls water away from the mix, so everything dries out much faster. This is fantastic if you live somewhere humid or if you're, an overwaterer. A plastic pot does the exact opposite. It holds that moisture in. And hey, those clear plastic pots are awesome because you get a little window to spy on the roots and see how they're doing.
And last but not least, you have to tweak your mix for your home. If you live in a really dry house with the heat blasting in the winter, you'll need to make your mix hold more water, so you'd add a bit more sphagnum moss or coir. But if you live somewhere damp and humid, you got to do the opposite. Go with a chunkier, more open mix to make sure you fend off any chance of rot.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? It's that there is no single perfect orchid mix. Real mastery comes from being a bit of a scientist, right? It's about creating a custom blend that perfectly matches what your specific plant needs, while also balancing that with your pot choice and your home's unique environment.
You've got it now. You know the core principles: aeration, drainage, and matching the particle size to the root size. You've got the whole toolkit of components right at your fingertips. So the only question left is, what kind of amazing home are you going to build for your orchid?